So let's continue with this. So we have our text layer, and we have our effects we want. And now I actually decided that I want a small dot here. I don't know why, but I just want it. So let's move this over like that. We're gonna select our marquee tool, or elliptical marquee tool. Just make a simple dot over here. Zoom in a bit, and I want this to kind of go into the K a bit. So we're gonna drag, and we're gonna see that we want to hold down Shift while we do this, so that we constrain it to a perfect circle. And then we press space while we hold down Shift and our mouse button, so we can move it into the position over here. And well, that looks okay. So we'll release our mouse button, and now we have a selection. So we're going to fill this with the same color of the text over here. So we're going to sample this color with the eyedropper tool, and we're going to fill it with the foreground color at 100% opacity. Okay, there we go. Looks great. We deselect that, and obviously we want the same layer styles on this one. So how would you do that? Well, you would do that by copying from the field bank layers. And I'm actually going to fine-tune this bevel and emboss effect a bit. Just going to see if I can get the highlights to show a bit more, if that works. See here, opacity, the shadows. I think that looks great. Gonna try a different technique here. Actually, that kind of looks cool. Gonna experiment with the depth, which kind of makes the shadows a bit darker. And we're gonna play with the size again. Just place the mouse pointer in the selection, and do with the arrow keys, up and down arrow keys, we can change the depth of the cut, so to speak. Press OK, and then we're gonna view it at a 75% again, see how it looks. Kind of a subtle effect, but it shows through, as you see. Subtle is good, less is more, and that's it. Now we're going to have the seam effect. Actually, I changed my mind. I want a little bit more dramatic effect. And this other is, you can't just decide on something, and you have to be open and for new ideas all the time. So we want to copy this effect. So that way you do that is, you click here, right click here, you copy layer style, and then you do right click on that part, and you select paste layer styles. You can't actually see it, I think, but it's in this menu. You click it, and voila, you get the same thing. So I've decided a different kind of effect for this one. It's going to be like a perspective shadow, so that we can simulate a kind of a light from the back of the text, which kind of looks cool, I think. We can actually see this on this part here. I did that earlier. Gonna revert this to the original file. You can see the shadow here. You can do the same effect on preview. Not going to save that, just a preview, temporary file, and let's do that effect, shall we? So there's a few things to do this, but I'm just going to do this quickly by selecting and filling. If you hover your mouse over the text layer, right click, select pixels, that will select your text layer temporarily with the marquee selection, marching ants. And you're gonna do the same with your dot. You're gonna right click, and we're going to add transparency mask, which means just add the transparency to the pixels that are already selected. You see that this one is actually a dot that is just hovering over transparency actually, so we're just gonna do that. Anyways, so we have selection, so we're gonna make a new layer. We're gonna fill that with black, like that. And now we can deselect this marching ant things. You have Control D on the PC. So we have our shadow layer on a separate layer. Now we're gonna do this a transform, Control T. We're gonna invert this, obviously. It's the mirror effect, and you can do this a few different ways, but I'm gonna do it like this. I'm gonna right click inside the selection box and do perspective, and just gonna drag these points out to where I think is good. And then I'm gonna go back to free transform and drag it in a bit, just so it looks good. Go back to perspective a bit, drag it a bit more further, back to free transform. You can do this with the control, but I like this way. Okay, when we're happy with that, we're gonna press enter, and you can see right away that, well, it doesn't fit into the box. Well, that's unfortunate, but we can change that. We want to scale everything down, everything, the text, the dot, the shadow. We can do this by clicking and selecting with your control key. Select all array layers that you have to scale down. Control T again, get the bounding box, and you have to hold down shift to this to constrain the proportions. So you can scale it down a bit so you can fit inside the box. Use your arrow keys, up, down, left, right, to set it so that it fits inside the box. When you're happy with that, just press enter, and that will resolve that. You can check it out at a smaller resolution. You can see the end result. Again, it's good to do that from time to time, so you can check out the end result, so you don't get blinded by the big size of this thing. Anyways, a shadow is not uniformly black throughout the entire thing. Even if it's a fantasy shadow, we want to do this kind of realistically. So we're going to add a layer mask, and we're going to do the gradient tool and make sure that you have the black to white. And you're gonna do this wrong, so I'm gonna intentionally do this wrong once. Well, I did it right intentionally. Control C to back up, and you're gonna do like this, and you're gonna be like, what the hell happened? But Control C is gonna be your best friend with this kind of thing. So let's do it correctly. Hold down shift to constrain your gradients to 90 or 45 degrees angles. You can experiment with this and see what looks good. That looks great. Ish. Again, zoom out to check your end result. And it's kind of a dramatic effect actually. Too much. That's the beauty of working with the scale. It looks good on this scale, but you're actually working on this scale at the end result. So I want to dial down this effect a bit. I'm going to do it like this. We're going to make a new gradient, dramatic gradient.